In the middle of the night, I was flooded with barrages all over the internet. Murder. Look, he's killing people live. In the picture, the man wearing a black sweatshirt was holding a knife and grinning ferociously at the camera. That face is exactly like mine. Even the mole on my neck is in the exact same position. Netizens went crazy, and the local police went crazy. But they didn't know that at this moment, I was sitting in the interrogation room of the Municipal Public Security Bureau. The old policeman opposite stared at the screen and then at me, so scared that the cigarette in his hand dropped. Chin Fong, please explain, who is the person dismembering the body on the screen? I looked at the familiar face in the surveillance camera and my back felt cold, but my tone was calm. Officer, I told you that I have a long-lost twin. Do you believe it? The old policeman sneered. It says in your file that you are an only child. I spread my hand and pointed at the monitor in the interrogation room. That's just right. I have the most perfect alibi. But the next second, I, in the live broadcast room, suddenly stopped moving. He faced the camera and slowly uttered a sentence. Chin Fong, do you think it's safe to hide in the police station? Text content. Late autumn, 2 o'clock in the morning. Ningqing City Public Security Bureau, interrogation room 4. Cold white shadowless lamps hang from the ceiling, emitting dazzling light. Chin Fong sat in the interrogation chair, his hands locked on the cold iron plate. He was still wearing the apron stained with plaster powder and dark red paint. That's what he wears at work. Just an hour ago, he was in his studio. He was holding a fine lancet in his hand and was removing attachments from a highly decomposed ancient corpse bit by bit. That was a job sent by the Provincial Museum, asking him to restore facial bones. When the police rushed in, he was in the most critical positioning of his eye sockets. Don't move. Police. A dozen heavily armed SWAT policemen pointed their black guns at his head. Chin Fong just put down the knife calmly. He took off his latex gloves and even warned. Don't step on the plaster mold on the left. It's not dry yet. If you step on it, you won't be able to afford compensation. Zhao Gang, the criminal police captain who led the team, looked at him like he was looking at a madman. Now, Zhao Gang is sitting opposite Chin Fong. There was an unlit cigarette in front of him, and his eyes were so gloomy that they could drip water. Chin Fong, 26 years old, is a special effects makeup artist and human bone restoration expert. Zhao Gang opened the file, his voice hoarse. You are very famous in the industry. You have done the makeup of monsters in many blockbusters. You even helped the police in several provinces perform facial reconstruction of unknown corpses. Chin Fong nodded and said calmly, Captain Zhao, since you investigated so clearly, you should know that I am very busy. The ancient corpse in a museum will have a preliminary plan tomorrow morning. Why did you bring me here? Zhao Gang sneered and took out a mobile phone from his arms. He turned the phone screen over and pushed it in front of Chin Fong. For what? You see for yourself. On the mobile phone screen is a live broadcast room. The name of the live broadcast room is very scary. Judgment Day. Scene 1. The number of people online has exceeded 3 million, and the barrages are beating so fast that they almost cover the screen. Murder. Look, he's killing people live. This face. Isn't this the famous special effects makeup artist Chin Fong? Crazy. Really crazy. How dare he live broadcast this online? Where are the police? Where did he die? Go and catch him. Chin Fong stared at the screen, his pupils suddenly shrinking. In the picture, there is a dark room. The walls are covered with messy posters, and there are several thick medical books on the bookshelf. On the windowsill, there are half a pot of succulents that are about to die. Chin Fong is very familiar with this place. That's his rental house. In the center of the picture, there's a man standing. The man was wearing a black sweatshirt with the hood pulled down low. He held a sharp boning knife in his hand, and blood was dripping from the tip. The man slowly raised his head and showed a ferocious smile to the camera. That face is exactly the same as Chin Fong. Even the tiny mole on the right side of his neck was in the exact same position. Chin Fong subconsciously touched his neck. His heart began to beat faster, but his face still maintained an almost indifferent calm. When was this video taken? Chin Fong asked. Zhao Gang stared at him and said word by word. This is not a video. This is a live broadcast. Just 5 minutes ago, this live broadcast room was going viral all over the internet. Our men have surrounded your rental house. Chin Fong frowned. Then did you catch him? Zhao Gang slammed the table, making the iron plate clang. Chin Fong, stop pretending to me. When my men rushed in, there was no one in the house. But the live broadcast is still going on. Please explain, if you are sitting here now, who is the person who is dismembering the body on the screen? Chin Fong looked at the phone screen again. Chin Fong, in the live broadcast room, is walking towards a sack in the corner. The sack was struggling violently, and a dull whimpering sound came from inside. Chin Fong raised the knife with a neat and elegant movement. The gesture of holding a knife made Chin Fong feel an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Captain Zhao, I said I have a long-lost twin. Do you believe it? Chin Fong raised his head and looked into Zhao Gang's eyes. Shogun Snap, I have read your file 3 times. You are an only child. Your parents died in a car accident 3 years ago. You have no brothers or sisters or any relatives who look alike. Chin Fong spread his hand and pointed at the surveillance camera in the corner of the interrogation room. That's just right. I have the most perfect alibi. It's been an hour since you caught me. I've been in your sight the entire time. Unless I know how to clone myself, the person on the screen is definitely not me. Zhao Gang was silent. This is also his biggest headache. Chun Feng was indeed being watched all the time. From the studio to the police car to the interrogation room, there are body cameras all over the place. He had no time to commit the crime. But how to explain that face in the live broadcast room? At this moment, the door of the interrogation room was pushed open. A young policeman walked in hurriedly and whispered a few words in Zhao Gang's ear. Zhao Gang's face instantly became extremely ugly. He looked at Chun Feng, his eyes full of suspicion and anger. Chun Feng, you are indeed not simple. The technical department just compared the fingerprints of the live broadcast images. The man deliberately left a fingerprint on camera. After comparison, it is completely consistent with your fingerprint. Chun Feng was stunned. Same for fingerprints? How is this possible? In this world, there may be people who look alike, but fingerprints are absolutely unique. Unless... A professional thought flashed through Chen Feng's mind. Captain Zhao, can you let me see the live broadcast clearly? Zhao Gang hesitated for a moment and motioned to his men to turn on the big screen in the interrogation room. On the screen, the live broadcast was enlarged several times. That Chun Feng is facing the camera, showing off his slender, white hands. His movements were slow, as if he were displaying a work of art. Chun Feng stared at those hands. As a top special effects makeup artist, he knows every detail of a human body. In his eyes, these hands were not hands, but a combination of muscles, fat, and bones. Stop, Chun Feng suddenly said. The technician pressed the pause button. The scene freezes on a close-up of the man's hand holding the knife. Zoom in at the third joint of the left index finger. Chun Feng commanded calmly. The screen zooms in again. There was a very light red mark there. If you didn't look carefully, you would just think it was a skin fold. That's allergy red spots left by silicone adhesive. Chun Feng's voice echoed in the interrogation room. He wears a hand mold or some kind of high-tech silicone skin. This kind of skin can perfectly replicate fingerprints and even simulate body temperature. Shou Gong Franet. You are an expert. Do you think this can be done? Chun Feng nodded. It can be done, but the cost is extremely high and it requires extremely specialized equipment. The most important thing is that he must have a high-precision fingerprint model of mine. Shou Gong smoothed coldly. How can others get your own fingerprints? Chun Feng was silent. His fingerprints are on the punch card machine in the studio, on his mobile phone, and even on many repair tools. If someone wants to get it, it's not difficult. Also, Chun Feng pointed at the man on the screen. Look at the way he holds a knife. It has a standard scalpel-style grip with the index finger pressing on the back of the handle, pursuing precise incision. And I am accustomed to using the carving knife style, holding the front end of the knife handle with my thumb and index finger. What I pursue is the control of strength. This is a professional habit that is engraved in your bones and cannot be changed. Zhao Gang stared at the screen for a long time and didn't see any difference. In his eyes, isn't that just killing someone with a knife? Chun Feng, your so-called professional analysis has no meaning before the law. Now the whole internet is watching and the pressure from public opinion has exploded. If you can't prove it's not you, you're the prime suspect. Chun Feng smiled bitterly. Captain Zhao, I am sitting in the interrogation room now. This is the best proof. Do you doubt that I can teleport? Zhao Gang said nothing. He did doubt it. In other words, he suspected that Chun Feng had an accomplice. An accomplice who looks exactly like him and can even fake his fingerprints. At this moment, Chun Feng in the live broadcast room suddenly stopped what he was doing. He slowly turned around and faced the camera. Those eyes revealed a kind of frightening madness. He seemed to have penetrated the screen and looked directly at Chun Feng in the interrogation room. Chun Feng, do you think it's safe to hide in the police station? A man's voice sounded. Low, magnetic, with a unique husky feel. A layer of cold sweat broke out on Chun Feng's back. This sound, just like him. Even the slightly nasal habit of speaking is perfectly imitated. The atmosphere in the interrogation room instantly dropped to freezing point. Zhao Gang stood up suddenly and shouted into the microphone. Technical department, can you trace the source of the signal? Report to the captain, the other party uses multiple virtual IPs and the signal jumps in more than a dozen countries around the world, and it can't be caught at all. Damn it, Zhao Gang cursed fiercely. In the live broadcast room, the man continued. The game has just begun. The debt you owe must be repaid. Tonight, I will give you a big gift. After saying that, the man suddenly swung his knife and stabbed the camera directly. The screen instantly went black. The live broadcast has ended. The interrogation room fell into a deathly silence. Chun Feng sat on the chair, his brain working rapidly. Dead-owed. He asked himself that although he had a withdrawn personality, he had never done anything untoward in his life. Except for those dead people and bones, he rarely interacted with living people. Who could hate him so much? Even if you don't hesitate to plastic surgery to look like him, kill people, and set fires? Captain Zhao, I want to apply to see my home surveillance camera, Chun Feng said suddenly. Zhao Gang was stunned for a moment. Is there surveillance in your home? On the third row of the bookshelf, behind the book Human Anatomy, there is a miniature camera hidden. Chen Feng said calmly. I have obsessive-compulsive disorder. Every time I go out, I have to make sure no one has touched my things at home. Zhao Gang immediately signaled his men to do it. 10 minutes later, a surveillance video was transmitted to the interrogation room. The time of the video shows that it was just half an hour ago. In the picture, Chen Feng's rental house is indeed empty. However, something strange happened. In the absence of anyone, the furniture in the house begins to move automatically. The books on the bookshelf fell one by one. The succulents on the windowsill were pushed over by invisible forces. Finally, a black figure appeared out of thin air in the center of the living room. It was Chen Feng wearing a sweatshirt. He smiled at the empty room and walked to the bedroom. What's going on? Zhao Gang's voice was trembling. Is it holographic projection or post-production synthesis? Chen Feng stared at the screen and shook his head. No, neither. It's a visual error. He pointed to a shadow in the video. Look there, the light is refracted ROM. He used some kind of highly reflective material to create a miniature mirror space in the room. The picture we see is actually a virtual image after multiple reflections. He himself was actually in the room all the time. He just used the blind spot to avoid being caught by the camera. Zhao Gang was confused when he heard this. You mean, he was in your house, but our people didn't find him when they rushed in? Chen Feng nodded. He is a master, and his use of space, light, and shadow has reached a perverted level. Captain Zhao, I suggest you send someone to check the floor of my house immediately. If I'm not mistaken, there should be nothing under the floor. Before Zhao Gang could give the order, the voice of the search personnel ahead came from the intercom. Captain Zhao, something was discovered. We found a hidden compartment under the floor of Chen Feng's bedroom. It's full of blood. Zhao Gang's face turned pale instantly. He looked at Chen Feng, his eyes full of complex emotions. Chen Feng, how many other things have you hidden from us? Chen Feng did not answer. He just stared at the darkened live broadcast room on the big screen, feeling an unprecedented sense of crisis in his heart. The other party not only knows his appearance, fingerprints, and voice. Even his living habits and thinking logic are well understood. This is no longer simple identity theft. This is to completely obliterate him and then replace him. Captain Zhao, if I were you, I would seal off the police station immediately. Chen Feng suddenly spoke. His tone was frighteningly cold. What do you mean? Chen Feng pointed to the window behind the man just before the live broadcast ended. During the live broadcast just now, a light flashed on the window glass behind him. It was a cool white, high-frequency flashing fluorescent light. This kind of lamp is used in only a few places in Ning City. Zhao Gang's heart skipped a beat. Which places? Chen Feng said word by word. The hospital's operating room, laboratory, and the interrogation room of the Public Security Bureau. Zhao Gang turned his head suddenly and looked at the heavy iron door of the interrogation room. Outside the door, the lights in the corridor were indeed flickering slightly. Those are high-frequency sensor lights installed uniformly in the police station in order to save energy. You mean he's in the police station? Zhao Gang's voice changed. Chen Feng closed his eyes, and the look in the man's eyes just now appeared in his mind. That kind of teasing, mocking, cat-and-mouse-like look. He's not live streaming killing people. He was live streaming how to destroy me. At this moment, the lights in the interrogation room suddenly went out. The entire police station fell into darkness instantly. The emergency lights were not on. It was eerily quiet, and all they could hear was each other's heavy breathing. Team Zhao! Team Zhao! Chen Feng shouted tentatively. No one responded. Zhao Gang, who was sitting opposite, seemed to disappear out of thin air. Chen Feng tried to stand up, but his hands were locked on the interrogation chair, and he could not move. Who? He felt that a pair of eyes were staring at him in the darkness. That cold, bloody sight. Chen Feng, you are still so smart. That familiar voice rang in my ears again. It wasn't coming from the phone, but it was right behind him. Less than 10 centimeters. Chen Feng felt a chill running down his spine and straight his forehead. Lu Yuan. Chen Feng tentatively named a name. That was a customer who received a strange order half a year ago. The other party asked to customize a Chen Feng's own face. At that time, Chen Feng thought that the other party was a crazy fan or a prop master of a certain crew. Now, it seems that it was a trap. Haha, you actually still remember me. In the darkness, a cold hand touched Chen Feng's face. That hand was very strong, and the position of the finger cocoons was exactly the same as Chen Feng's. I've been working on this face for half a year. I had 14 surgeries to make my muscles move more naturally. I cut off a third of my vocal cords to make the sound more like that. Chen Feng, do you think I look like you now? Chen Feng took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. What did you do to Captain Zhao? Don't worry, he just fell asleep. There was a twisted excitement in Lu Yuan's voice. I haven't had enough fun yet. Why am I willing to let the police leave so quickly? Chen Feng, do you know what I hate most about you? Lu Yuan's hand suddenly tightened and pinched Chen Feng's chin. It's your aloof calmness. It seems like all the skins in the world are just a pile of rotten meat in your eyes. I'm going to tear your calmness apart and let you see with your own eyes how I turned into you. Chen Feng sneered. Become me? Are you worthy? No matter how much you look like, your bones are still rotten. The gesture you made with the knife just now has betrayed you. You used to be a surgeon, right? Your license was revoked due to medical malpractice, so you want to regain your sense of existence in this way. Lu Yuan was silent for a moment. Then he let out a deep laugh. As expected of an expert, his observation skills are indeed keen. But so what? Now the entire internet believes that you are the murderer. Your fingerprints, your face, your voice, they all showed up at the crime scene. And you, now, are trying to attack a police officer and escape. Chen Feng was shocked. What did you say? At this moment, the lights in the interrogation room suddenly turned on. The dazzling light made Chen Feng subconsciously close his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, Lu Yuan was gone. And Zhao Gang was lying on the table, with the back of his head covered in blood. At some point, a bloody lancet appeared in Chen Feng's hand. That's the knife in his studio. Don't move. Put your hands up. The door to the interrogation room was knocked open, and several police officers rushed in with guns drawn. What they saw was... Zhao Gang fell in a pool of blood, and Chen Feng held the murder weapon in his hand, and was about to get up. I'm not. Chen Feng was about to explain, but found that his voice was hoarse, and his voice turned into Lu Yuan's distorted hoarseness. He realized that Lu Yuan had just put some kind of medicine on his neck. Drop your weapons, or we'll shoot. The police officer's eyes were full of horror and anger. In their eyes, Chen Feng has turned into a complete madman. A gangster who openly attacked the criminal police captain in the interrogation room. Chen Feng looked at Zhao Gang on the ground, and then at the knife in his hand. He knew that he had fallen into a carefully designed dead end. Lu Yuan not only wants his life, but also his reputation and everything about him. But he didn't panic. As an expert who often deals with dead people, he knows that at times like this, it is more important to look for those tiny, overlooked details. He lowered his head and carefully observed the wound on the back of Zhao Gang's head. The wounds were deep and radiating. This is not a wound that a lancet can inflict. This is a blunt force injury. Lu Yuan made a common-sense mistake when he framed him. In other words, that was a flaw that Lu Yuan deliberately left to mock him. Captain Zhao is not dead yet. Chen Feng faced the police's gun and spoke calmly. Although his voice was hoarse, his tone was extremely firm. The bleeding from his wound needs to be stopped immediately, otherwise irreversible brain damage will occur within 3 minutes. If you shoot now, he will definitely die. The policeman hesitated. Chen Feng took the opportunity to put down the knife and raised his hands above his head. I'll cooperate with you, but please call an ambulance immediately. Just when the police stepped forward to control Chen Feng, the big screen in the interrogation room suddenly lit up again. The live broadcast room is reopened. In the picture, Lu Yuan had already changed into clean clothes. He was sitting in Chen Feng's studio with a cup of coffee in his hand. Hello everyone, my name is Chen Feng. Lu Yuan showed a gentle smile to the camera. The live broadcast just now was actually a special effects test I did for a new movie. I didn't expect it would cause such a big misunderstanding. I'm really sorry. To express my apology, I decided to show you on the spot how to restore the face of an ancient corpse. The barrage exploded instantly. Fuck. It turned out to be a special effects test? Scared me to death. Let me just say, how could Teacher Chen be a murderer? This special effect is too realistic. It's just like the real thing. Teacher Chen is awesome. Support Teacher Chen. Chen Feng looked at himself, talking eloquently on the screen, and felt a chill in his heart. Lu Yuan's move was too cruel. He first attracted the attention of the entire network through a terrifying live broadcast, and then harvested traffic by refuting rumors. In this way, he not only cleared the suspicion of Chen Feng, but also naturally took over Chen Feng's identity. The real Chen Feng has now become a serious criminal who attacked the police. Even if the truth comes out in the future, I'm afraid no one will believe it. Take away! The police roughly escorted Chen Feng out of the interrogation room. In the corridor, Chen Feng passed by a mirror. He stopped and looked at himself in the mirror. Pale and embarrassed with cold eyes. And the Chen Feng on the screen is sunny, confident, and popular. Who is real? Chen Feng suddenly laughed. The smile was a bit weird, making the policeman next to him shudder. Why are you laughing? Chen Feng turned his head, looked at the policeman, and said in a hoarse voice. I laughed at him for being too impatient. The ancient corpse he restored was not a female corpse from the Ming Dynasty at all. It was a male corpse, but the pelvis was deliberately modified by me. If he reconstructs the female corpse according to its structure, the face that comes out in the end. Chen Feng paused, and a glint flashed in his eyes. It would be a dead man's face. The policeman frowned. What the hell are you talking about? Chen Feng did not explain. He knew that there was a fatal flaw in Lu Yuan's perfect plan. That's because Lu Yuan pursues beauty too much. As a plastic surgeon, Lu Yuan is used to making everything beautiful. But he forgot that the essence of bone restoration is to restore reality. And reality is often ugly. The game really has just begun. Chen Feng said silently in his heart. Lu Yuan, I will let you tear off your perfect fake face with your own hands. Half an hour later, Chen Feng was imprisoned in the city bureau's most strict detention center for serious criminals. There are no windows here, just a heavy iron door. The walls are painted with dark red paint, giving people a strong sense of oppression. Chun Feng sat on the hard bed and closed his eyes to rest. He replayed Lu Yuan's every move over and over in his mind. Every look, every gesture, every breath. He was looking for Lu Yuan's weakness. Lu Yuan is very smart, but he has a fatal flaw, arrogance. He believed that he had perfectly recreated Chen Feng, so he dared to broadcast it live in front of the entire network. But he didn't know that Chen Feng had a secret. A secret that is not even recorded in the files, and not even known to the people closest to him. Chen Feng touched his left wrist. There was a very thin scar there, hidden in the folds of the skin. It was left over from surgery when he was a child. His left hand was actually broken. Although it is connected, the bone structure inside is slightly different from ordinary people. When doing delicate work, his left hand will have a slight, almost invisible tremor. In order to cover up this tremor, he developed a unique technique for handling the knife. As for Lu Yuan, his hand was too steady. He is not as stable as a person who holds a carving knife all year round, but like a person who holds a scalpel. Dong dong dong. The iron door was knocked. A small window was opened, revealing a pair of suspicious eyes. Chen Feng, someone wants to see you. Chen Feng opened his eyes. Who? Your ex-girlfriend, Lin Xiao. Chen Feng was stunned. Lin Xiao. They have been separated for 2 years and have had almost no contact during these 2 years. How could she appear at this time? Let her in. Chen Feng stood up and straightened his messy clothes. The iron door slowly opened. A woman wearing a red trench coat walked in. She was very beautiful, with exquisite makeup, but there was an unconcealable fear in her eyes. Chen Feng. Lin Xiao looked at him, her voice trembling. Chen Feng looked at her and said nothing. He is observing. Lin Xiao's stance was very stiff, and her hands were tightly grasping the straps of her bag. Her eyes were looking up and to the left. That's typical of people recalling lies. Are you here to save me or to kill me? Chen Feng asked straight to the point. Lin Xiao was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes turned red. What are you talking about? I heard about you, and I don't believe you would kill anyone. I found my father's relationship to get these 10 minutes of meeting time. Chen Feng sneered. Your dad? The gambler who has long since severed ties with you. Lin Xiao's face instantly turned pale. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Chen Feng walked towards her, and with every step he took, Lin Xiao took a step back, until she backed into the corner. How much did Lu Yuan give you? Chen Feng's voice was very soft, but it was like a sharp knife piercing Lin Xiao's heart. In other words, what kind of face did he promise to give you? Lin Xiao completely collapsed. She squatted on the ground, covered her face, and cried. I can't help it, he threatened me. He said if I didn't cooperate, he would peel my face off. Chen Feng knelt down and looked at the woman he once loved deeply. There was no anger in my heart, just a touch of sadness. What did he ask you to do? Lin Xiao sobbed and took out a small USB flash drive from her bag. He asked me to give this to you. He said that after you read it, you will know what to do. Chen Feng took the USB flash drive with a deep look in his eyes. What else did he say? Lin Xiao raised his head, his eyes full of despair. He said he had planted a bomb in the supermarket downstairs from your house. If you don't do what he says, the whole neighborhood will be buried with you tonight. Chen Feng held the USB flash drive tightly. He knew that Lu Yuan was not joking. That lunatic can really do it. Lin Xiao, let's go. Chen Feng stood up, and his tone was so calm that it was scary. Tell Lu Yuan that I received his gift. I'll give him a surprise. Lin Xiao fled the detention center in a hurry. Chen Feng sat in the darkness, playing with the USB flash drive in his hand. He knew that there must be nothing good in this USB flash drive. It might be some kind of virus, or it might be some kind of forged evidence that would completely make him unable to stand up. But he had to watch, because this is his only chance to contact Lu Yuan. He walked under the surveillance camera of the detention center and waved to the camera. I want to see Captain Zhao. I know he's not dead. Tell him to bring a computer if he wants to catch the real culprit. 5 minutes later, Zhao Gang appeared outside the iron gate with a thick bandage on his head and a pale face. His eyes were full of anger, but more of a reluctance. Chen Feng, you'd better really have a clue. Otherwise, if I don't give up this police uniform, I will kill you with my own hands. Chen Feng looked at him and smiled slightly. Captain Zhao, don't be so angry. Give me the computer. Zhao Gang signaled his men to hand a laptop into the window. Chen Feng plugged in the USB drive. A video file pops up on the screen. The file name is Chen Feng's Funeral. Chen Feng clicked on the video. In the picture, there is a dark basement. Lu Yuan was standing in front of an operating table, and there was a person lying on the operating table. The man's face was covered, and his appearance could not be seen clearly. But in terms of body shape, he is exactly the same as Chen Feng. Lu Yuan was holding a scalpel in his hand and smiling at the camera. Chen Feng, look, this is your ending. I will peel off your skin bit by bit, cut off your nerves, and finally remove your bones one by one. I will use your bones to make the most perfect piece of art. And you can only watch helplessly, unable to do anything. In the background of the video, a dull roar can be heard vaguely. It was the sound of some large machinery operating. Chen Feng frowned and carefully distinguished the sound. Captain Zhao, can you tell what the sound is? Zhao Gang came over to listen and shook his head. I can't hear it. It sounds like a generator or a water pump. Chen Feng shook his head. No, that's the sound of an old printing press. And it's the kind of disc machine that specializes in printing illegal small advertisements. This kind of machine can only be found in the abandoned industrial zone in the north of Ning City. Zhao Gang's eyes lit up. Are you sure? I've worked in a place like that before, so I'm familiar with the sound. Chen Feng stared at Lu Yuan in the video. He deliberately left this sound to lure you over. Shao Gong snorted coldly. Lead us there? What does he want to do? Ambush the police? No, he wants you to see Chen Feng kill someone with your own eyes. Chen Feng pointed to the man on the operating table. If I guess correctly, that person is not me at all, but the substitute he found. He will kill that person in front of you the moment you rush in. He would then use the prepared escape route to escape. In this way, Chen Feng committed murder has become irrefutable evidence, and no one can save me. Zhao Gang took a breath. This Lu Yuan is simply a psychopathic genius. He calculated the police response every step of the way. Then what should we do? Don't go. Go, of course. The corners of Chen Feng's mouth curved into a cold arc. But he missed one thing. What's up? The ancient corpse he restored. Chen Feng pointed to a piece of white cloth in the corner of the video. Under the white cloth, the outline of a skull was vaguely revealed. In order to show off to me, he brought the ancient corpse to the scene. He wanted to complete the recovery on the spot after the murder to prove that he was stronger than me. But he didn't know that my anti-counterfeiting mark was hidden in that skull. Zhao Gang was stunned. Anti-counterfeiting mark? What does it mean? Chen Feng did not explain, but simply said, Captain Zhao, take me to the scene. I will tear off his mask with my own hands. Shao Gong hesitated. It's against the rules to bring a felon to the scene. But looking at Chen Feng's eyes that were so calm and almost crazy, he nodded mysteriously. Okay, I'll take you there. But if you dare to play tricks, I will shoot you immediately. Chen Feng smiled. Don't worry, I want him dead more than you do. 4 o'clock in the morning. Abandoned industrial zone in the north of the city. A dozen police cars quietly surrounded an abandoned printing factory. Zhao Gang led the SWAT team, fully armed, guarding the door. Chen Feng was wearing a bulletproof vest and was handcuffed next to Zhao Gang. Is this here? Zhao Gang asked in a low voice. Chen Feng closed his eyes and listened carefully. The dull roar of the printing press was coming from deep underground. In the basement. Chen Feng pointed to a freight elevator in the corner of the factory building. Be quick, he may have already started. Zhao Gang waved his hand, and the special police officers rushed in quickly. Bang! The freight elevator door was violently torn open. A strong smell of blood hit his face. Everyone rushed down the stairs into the basement. The sight in front of them shocked everyone. The basement was turned into a simple operating room. The surroundings are filled with photos of Chen Feng, ranging from his childhood to the present. There are also Chen Feng's sound waveform diagrams and anatomy diagrams of various facial muscles posted on a wall. Lu Yuan was standing in front of the operating table, holding a knife in his hand and facing away from everyone. You are finally here, Chen Feng. Lu Yuan did not look back, and there was an inexplicable excitement in his voice. A little faster than I expected. Zhao Gang raised his gun and shouted. Hands up! You're surrounded! Lu Yuan slowly turned around. He wore a transparent breathing mask on his face, and his eyes were filled with madness. Surrounded? No, witness. He pointed to the person on the operating table. The skin on the man's face had been stripped off, and his flesh and blood were bloody and miserable. Look, this is your true face. Ugly, twisted, disgusting. The special police officers looked at the corpse and couldn't help but retched. But Chen Feng walked forward calmly and stared into Lu Yuan's eyes. Lu Yuan, you lose. Lu Yuan laughed wildly. Did I lose? You see clearly, this scene is being broadcast live on the entire internet now. Everyone will see that you, Chen Feng, brutally murdered an innocent person in the basement. And I am just a hero who reveals the truth. He pointed to a camera in the corner. In the live broadcast room, the barrage has gone completely crazy. Oh my god, how cruel. Chen Feng is really a devil. Kill him quickly. Such people don't deserve to live in the world. Chen Feng ignored the barrage and walked to the skull of the ancient corpse. Lu Yuan has completed most of the recovery work. I have to say that his skills are indeed outstanding. Although the face made of silicone and paint is not yet finished, the outline of a woman can already be seen. Beautiful, right? Lu Yuan looked at his work proudly. This is art. This is rebirth. Chen Feng sneered, suddenly stretched out his hand, and pressed hard on the forehead of that face. Click. A soft sound. That perfect silicone face actually cracked. From the crack, a dark red piece of metal with a peculiar smell was exposed. Lu Yuan's smile froze. What is this? Chen Feng looked at him calmly. This is my habit when restoring ancient corpses. In order to fix the bones, I will first implant several special magnetic steel pins into the skull. The order in which these steel needles are arranged is my initials. And you, in pursuit of superficial perfection, did not examine the internal structure of the skull at all. Chen Feng pointed to the piece of metal. This steel needle is coated with strong photosensitizer. As long as it encounters strong light, it will produce a chemical reaction and release a lot of heat. You just turned on a high-power fill light for the live broadcast effect, right? Lu Yuan seemed to realize something and looked at the skull in horror. ZZ. A harsh sound sounded. Smoke suddenly erupted from the skull. Immediately afterwards, the entire silicone face began to melt and deform rapidly. The originally beautiful face of the female corpse turned into a twisted, ferocious, evil-like piece of waste skin in less than 10 seconds. No, my work. Lu Yuan rushed forward frantically, trying to repair it. But it's too late. The melted silicone stuck to his hands, emitting the stench of burned flesh. Ah. Lu Yuan screamed and fell to the ground. The silicone mask on his face also began to fall off due to the high temperature. The layers of exquisite camouflage fell off like snakeskin. The real face inside was exposed, which was ulcerated, red and swollen, and covered with surgical scars due to excessive plastic surgery. That face was so ugly that it was impossible to look directly at it. The audience in the live broadcast room were all dumbfounded. Fuck, what is that? Did Chen Feng's face fall? Wrong. That person is not Chen Feng. He had plastic surgery. Look at his true face. So disgusting. Public opinion instantly reversed. Zhao Gang took the opportunity to rush forward and pinned Lu Yuan to the ground. Lu Yuan, you're suspected of multiple murders and identity theft, and you're arrested. Lu Yuan lay on the ground and let out a desperate cry. He looked at Chen Feng, his eyes full of resentment. Why can you find out? Chen Feng looked at him condescendingly, his eyes as cold as if he were looking at a corpse. I told you, no matter how much you look like, your bones are still rotten. You only care about the skin, but forget that the bones are the foundation that supports a person. A person like you can never become me. Lu Yuan was taken away. Calm returned to the basement. Chen Feng walked to the camera and looked at the dancing barrage in the live broadcast room. He was silent for a moment, then slowly spoke. I am Chen Feng. This is true recovery. After saying that, he turned off the live broadcast. Early morning. Chen Feng walked out of the printing factory. The sun shone on his face, which was a little dazzling. Zhao Gang came over and handed him a cigarette. Thanks. Chen Feng took the cigarette, but did not light it. Captain Zhao, can I go back? The work in the museum is not finished yet. Zhao Gang smiled bitterly. You kid, you have such a big heart. Okay, I will help you with the procedures. But you have to be on call during this period, and there's still a lot of notes to take. Chen Feng nodded, turned, and walked towards the roadside. Just as he was about to get in the car, he suddenly stopped. He touched his neck. There was nothing there. The tiny black mole was gone. Chen Feng was stunned for a moment, and then an unfathomable smile appeared on his lips. He took out a black marker from his pocket. Looking at the rearview mirror, he tapped lightly on the original position on his neck. Lu Yuan is right. This face really needs a little bit of modification to make it more perfect. He started the car and disappeared into the morning light. And no one noticed. In the ruins of the printing press, another identical face of Chen Feng was lying quietly in the shadows. Facing the sky, he showed a strange smile. When the door of the interrogation room was pushed open again, not only was cold wind brought in, but there was also a strong smell of formalin. Zhao Gang was holding a transparent evidence bag in his hand, and his expression was even uglier than before. Inside the bag was a severed finger, with a flat cut and soaked in an unknown liquid. This was found from the secret room of your studio. Zhao Gang slapped the evidence bag heavily on the iron plate, and the sound made people's ears hurt in the confined space. Chen Feng, please explain to me. You are a special effects makeup artist. Why do you keep such things? Chen Feng lowered his head slightly and looked at the amputated finger through the plastic bag. There was no fear in his eyes, but a professional look. This is a medical specimen. Chen Feng raised his head, his tone as calm as if he was discussing tomorrow's weather. Half a month ago, an old professor from the Provincial Medical University sent it. It was a case he collected 30 years ago. There was a rare hyperplasia of the phalanges. He asked me to help make a 1:1 recovery model for teaching. Zhao Gang sneered and took out another document from his arms. Old professor? I just verified that the professor did come to you, but what he sent was 3 amputated fingers, and they were all numbered. But in the part we found, the serial number was rubbed off. Moreover, after preliminary DNA comparison, the activity of this finger is fresh. Chen Feng finally frowned. Fresh. That's right, it won't take more than 24 hours to cut it off. Zhao Gang leaned down, put his hands on the table, and stared into Chen Feng's eyes. Chen Feng, how long will you continue to perform? The you in the live broadcast room is dismembering the body, and there are fresh human tissues hidden in your studio. Do you think that as long as you sit here, there is nothing we can do to you? Chen Feng said nothing. He realized that Lu Yuan was not only imitating him, but also replacing his life on a physical level. Those legitimate specimens were replaced with actual body parts. This is a dead end. Captain Zhao, can you give me paper and pen? Chen Feng suddenly said. Zhao Gang was stunned for a moment. What do you want to do? Write a confession. No, I want to draw a picture. Chen Feng took the pen and paper, and his fingers moved quickly on the paper. His movements were extremely steady, and his lines were so smooth that it didn't look like he was drawing, but like he was printing. In less than 3 minutes, a map of the human facial muscles appeared on the paper. Chen Feng pointed to the masseter muscle on the left side in the picture and said to Zhao Gang, "This is the facial structure of the person in the live broadcast room. Look here, when he smiles, the contraction frequency of the masseter on the left side is about 0.05 seconds slower than on the right side. This shows that too much filler was implanted in his subcutaneous tissue, causing nerve conduction to be blocked. To put it simply, his face was plastic surgery, and the surgery was poorly done, leaving micron levels